Let's breathe into the intro. Deep breath in and then out. Deep breath in and then out. Hello, Bria.
Hey.
Welcome to the Yellow Couch Podcast. We're here again, and I'm so excited that we're here and we're talking about spirituality and religion today.
Yes. So why don't you start us off?
Okay, let's see. Do I have a story time? Okay, so recently I have been studying in my counseling program about um, just our personalities and why we become who we become. And one of the things I have studied is spirituality or religion being central. That's uh, one of the formulations is spirituality or religion being central to our personality. And these scientists studied that, and I thought that it was very interesting because I feel as though, when we have a disconnect from the spirit, it can also really mess with our who we are, who we think we are, who we believe we are, and we can even be disconnected from like ourself and like what we do and who we serve. So it's so important um to have some type of connection to spirit, to creator. Yeah, and I thought that was just something, a tidbit that I wanted to share just from what I've been studying. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. So why did we choose this topic? Spirituality versus religion. Um,
Go
you want to
ahead.
answer it first?
Um, no, I'll let you go first. I'll let you go
Okay.
first.
I think this topic kind of came to my mind to do because we started having a lot of conversations about the dangers of practicing religion versus having a spiritual practice. And we started to see that come to life in movies like Sinners. That
Mm-hmm.
conversation was being had on a larger scale. And so it was like, all right, it's time for us to talk about this because we also have been going through our own understanding and enlightening as far as religion and spirituality go. So I think it was only right that we started to talk about it,
Yeah.
especially together because we have some very similar viewpoints about it, but we also share some differing opinions as well. So I think it was good for us to have this conversation.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. And yeah, I'm happy that you brought the personal into the mix because that's what we need to talk about. Like I do feel like growing up and being raised in church, like I was taught to behave a certain way, to be a certain way, to do certain things. And while I believe that my values and my morals are strong because of that, I also feel like it became my personality. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like earlier when I was talking about how some models of people's personality or their overall holistic view of themselves has spiritual slash religious aspects in it. If what's central to you is religion, which was very true for me, what was central to me for so long was religious activity. Even though I didn't really, I wouldn't in the past, if you would ask me if I was super religious when I was, I would tell you, no, I'm not. I'm not. That's not who I am. But when I reflect back on that, I'm like, yeah, I was very like that's how I was taught to be. So it was very much part of my personality at the time because that's all I knew. is
Mm-hmm.
to be in that religious space and really like be part of like a religious doctrine and have be steeped in that type of programming, is what
Mm-hmm.
I want to call it, to be steeped in that type of programming. And so like I feel like it's really important that now in this space in my life, I'm open to who God is for me personally than who people say God is. Um, Ultimately, like when we're younger, we have people sharing their own experiences of God, and that's amazing and that's beautiful, and ultimately it helps us to make meaning of our own experiences with God. But ultimately, when we come into this development like of ourselves really understanding who we are and figuring that out for ourselves, like it's important that we make meaning of our own experiences and
Mm-hmm.
not let other people's experiences create that idea of who God is for us.
Yeah, agreed. You said you wanted to use the word programming. Can you
Hmm.
like explain more about the programming?
Yeah,
Like why
like
you chose that word?
programming. So, okay. So I feel like there's a lot of different types of programming that happens in our lives. Like when we watch TV, um, our generation, we were more watching TV in our childhood than we were on social media because social media didn't become a thing until we were almost out of high school. Like we weren't on social media like that. Like we had MySpace maybe in middle school, but even MySpace was slower. And you would get on MySpace after school on a computer. Like you didn't have an app that you could pull up on your phone all day. So like social media wasn't as um, prevalent as it is now. And so like that programming that we had socially was through our TV primarily growing up. And whatever was put on TV is what we interacted with socially. So if we had something like Zoom, like that show Zoom that we watched, like that became like our idea of how we wanted to be educated. Like that became, oh, this is fun. This is what I want. This is what I'm involved in. And it also becomes like when you have that type of idea put into your head about this is what education could be, then you go and search for that out in the world in spaces where that isn't. And so that's the type of programming. And I don't think that programming is bad. I think that it is what it is. I think that people learn certain programming and it creates a framework for them to keep going back to, so that they can make sense of what they like, what they don't like, things like that. So, using programming in the context of religion and spirituality, I would say that, like, up till today's time, we're programmed. We're programmed by social media. We're programmed by what we watch. We're programmed by our churches and our schools. We're programmed in our jobs. We're programmed in every way. And ultimately, deprogramming for me would be you're taking time to really sit with yourself and ask yourself what kind of program you want to run for your own life. You know, people joke a lot and they'll be like, "Oh, she on a strict program," or you know, and I always admire and respect people who have created a program for themselves, regardless of what it is. But keyword is for themselves, and they're not being programmed by someone else, and by anyone else's standards, but the things that they feel like are important and necessary for their life.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so there's this programming that happens in a religious context because you're sitting in a congregation, sitting, listening to the thoughts and ideas of one person,
Mhm.
and then if you have Bible study, you're sharing those ideas with the people that you're in Bible study with, and y'all are kind of coming into a mutual understanding of what this thing is based on what you read, how you interpreted it, and so on and so forth. So there's a religious programming that happens because you are interacting with the program.
Yeah,
You're communicating and participating in said program. So that is the programming that has happened. And like you said, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just a thing. That's just what it is. And so, and even with spirituality, with the idea of spirituality, there's programming there as well.
exactly.
As you participate in the idea of spirituality, especially in this new age, I feel like with this new age social media, it's like there's a programming of spirituality that's a lot easier to get influenced by, because it didn't we didn't have a venue necessarily to be able to learn about spirituality in a broader sense, and all the different ways that people practice spirituality is become more of a known thing. That okay, some people practice candle magic, some people practice you know, astrology. Some people practice meditation, breathing, yoga, all these different tools that are used in spiritual practice. Some people just go sit out in nature. Like, we're learning all of these things that we might not have known way back when we were heavily in the church, and that was our vehicle to our spirituality or our spiritual practice.
Hmm.
So seeing all these different ways now, it opens up your world a little bit more. And I think what happened for me was I got into I got curious.
Hmm.
I got curious when I became, I want to say when I was around my mid 20s, I
Hmm.
started to get real curious about what other people are believing or studying.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can people not, my first question was, how can people not believe in God? How can people not believe in the story of Jesus Christ? Because that was all I knew up until that point. I'm reading my Bible every morning before I go to work, before
Yeah.
I go to class.
Hmm.
I'm praying. This is, I'm fasting. I'm doing all the things that our religion
Tells us that we need to do in order to
that
be
we
in good
should do.
standing. Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm doing all of that, and I'm trying to figure out, how do people not do this? How do people not believe in Jesus? So I'm learning. So as I get curious, I learn, that people believe a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And as I get more curious, I start to unravel a little bit, because I'm like, hold up. Some of y'all got a point. Now, some of y'all just doing y'all own thing, but some of y'all got a point. And so now I'm questioning more than I was ever questioning before. And that's where you get to the place where you start to dig a little bit deeper in your own faith and be like, okay, what's real and what's not real? What is truth and what has been programmed? What has been the indoctrination versus what is real? Like, what is the real relationship with God? What does the Bible say versus, and is the Bible the thing that we should be using, should be going by, should we be going by the Bible? I'm asking all these questions,
Hmm.
and it caused me to have a crisis of identity for a short period of time.
Yeah, which
Cause
is
I'm like,
natural.
I don't know what I believe. I don't know, man. It's all kind of confusing at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then you get into learning to, now you're starting to unlearn some things and you're starting to adopt new practices,
Hmm.
practices that agree with your nervous system,
Yeah.
and practices that make sense for you, while still maintaining trying to maintain a relationship with God, a relationship, because I can't let it go. This is all I know.
Yeah. It's a space of comfort. I think I can relate to that. Like, it's a space of comfort for me. Um, I don't believe that I'm ever disconnected from God. I don't think I was ever disconnected from God. Um, like, that's my belief currently, is that I've never been disconnected from God. I believe I've been told that disconnection from God means you're not going to church, or disconnection from God means you're not praying as much, or disconnection from God means that you're not doing the right things. That's the disconnection from God. But ultimately, like, we have like this subjective understanding of who God is across the board. We're human, and we don't know everything.
Right.
Nobody knows everything. God knows. Only God knows. And the belief in God as the central unit of things, like, and I want to add on to that, like, God is something outside of ourselves. Like, um, so much that we learned growing up was God is up here, and
Mm-hmm.
you lift your hands to feel God or to touch God, or God is out here, or God is in the sky. Um, like, we learn so much of God is outside of us, and I don't think that that's untrue, but I also believe that we didn't focus enough on how God is within us, and God is here in our hearts.
Mm.
I don't feel like we focused enough on that. I think that it was said at some point, but it wasn't enough focus on that. And there was even like a fear of saying that God is within, because people were like, well, don't, you not God. You not God. Well, don't say that you are God. And it's like, but why, what's the harm in saying that you are like God, or you are, because we were taught first off that we are made in the image and likeness of God. And then we were taught that we were receiving God into our hearts and into our lives and within us. So it's just like, so what is it? Why is it so like, well, we don't want to get, it's like a thing of humility, like constant, like, you need to be humble. You need to do this. You need to be lowly. You need to be, realize that you're human. You're not. And it's like, but we are both spirit and flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we keep disconnecting ourselves in language from spirit,
Mm-hmm.
by disconnecting God from us?
Right.
And and I get so passionate about that, because I'm just like, God has been with me the whole time. When I was ignorant, when I didn't know who God was, when I didn't know there was a name to establish my experience, I was like, I've always felt God's presence here with me. I've always felt spiritual presence here with me. And so somebody put a name to it, but that doesn't change, with my understanding, doesn't change the spirit of God,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't change that spirit from being with me. And regardless of the name, I'm always going to have that spirit with me. And it's benevolent. It's not a demonic thing.
Mm-hmm. So then we get into the whole idea of, um, I want to bring up sinners.
Hmm.
So
Please do.
the movie was so good. It was so good. But it made us talk a lot about this idea of a spiritual experience that you have that happens through the way that you express yourself, whether it be through music or through dance, or just poetry or whatever. This thing that awakens your spirit, this thing that connects you to other people, this thing that connects you to different generations. how powerful it is. That movie was so good.
It was so good.
It was so good. Talk a little bit about like how that movie had impact on you.
Yeah, Sinners was like deeply affirming for me to see on a big screen the things that I have been in process of like understanding on a spiritual from a spiritual aspect. I feel like it was very, very affirming because you see people being connected to each other through spiritual things. Like they don't have the language that we know today. Um, they don't have the technology or the jobs or the career development or the all that. They don't have the respect that Black people feel like we have today. Um, and you see people who look like us on screen in a different period of time, who are grappling with the same things that we're grappling with. Um, their understanding of who they are. Like, I thought it was very interesting that when Sinners comes on, like early in the movie, like this, you're seeing the twins, the Stacks twins.
Hmm.
No, you're seeing it's Stacks and
Smoke.
Smoking Stacks. You're seeing Smoking Stacks and this idea that I've heard before of two spirits, from like Native American um, spirituality. But then you also, they kind of touch on, for a very brief moment, they touch on the Native Americans, very brief moment.
Hmm.
Um, and the Native Americans got out of Dodge, like right as the movie started. Like they're like, "Hey, this man ain't no good." When you saw the guy who looked like he was just lit on fire,
Hmm.
run into a house for somebody to take care of him.
And if you haven't seen the movie yet, then you probably want to just
Yeah,
not listen to this because we finna give all the spoilers.
yeah, it's been long enough. It's been
Yeah,
long
it's
enough at
been
this
long enough.
point. Yeah, so go on and it's on HBO Max. You can go on HBO Max and watch it if you got HBO Max. But they're going to this couple's house, and I mean this we know now that he is a vampire,
Mm.
and that the Native Americans on horseback are trying to find him and kill him and get rid of him.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, this couple invites him into their home. He's able to kind of become something else in order to get their approval. So you see the KKK costume on the seat in their front room, and he sees that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, brothers, let's do this." And they invite him in because they're like, "Oh, he's white, he's one of us," and they end up, becoming part of that, part of their own demise, one, but part of that, you know, legion of vampires. And ultimately, like, I thought that them putting vampires into that movie, the idea of vampires, and it made me think about energy vampires. It made
Mm.
me think, like, when we talk about energy vampires, it made me think of um, like the fact that vampires live forever, but they're
Mm.
never able to be in the sun.
Hmm.
And how spiritual that aspect is. Like, you have no soul, so you can't be in the sun. And ultimately, like the spirit of life is that spark or that energy or that sun. And so of course you can't be in the sun because you're disconnected from actual life and vitality. And then on top of that, like, just, you can't, like, you're an energy vampire, so you're always constantly feeding off of people's energy and their lifeblood and their all those things. So it's very interesting how deep, how layered that movie is, the subjects that are happening in that movie. But what about you, Bria? Like, what are you taking from Sinners?
I took a lot. One of the things that got me the most is I'm a music person, so all the music was like everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember his name because I only saw the movie once, but Delroy Lindo's character, his character, oh my gosh, when they were in the car, they were riding, and he started telling the story about something that happened to him, and then like transitioned from talking to just groaning
Oh,
into the music.
mm-hmm.
It was like that was so I love that so much because it was a true depiction of how music helps us express ourselves in a way that words alone sometimes don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was able to tell that story with those groans
Mm.
in the music. And
That was
that's,
so amazing.
yes, and that's how the blues,
Mm-hmm.
that's the blues. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? When you're talking about something sad or something painful that happened, and words just aren't enough to express the feeling that you felt. It's like that was so amazing. And then and then to find out that that was like completely improvised, like that wasn't actually in the script, I'm like, yo, you're killing me. It was so good.
Because it was so real.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't scripted, so that's something that he really connected to, and the fact that we connected to that is like that's our connection, our spiritual connection. Like
Yeah.
we know that full well through our experience.
And then you have Miles Caton's character, the preacher boy, and his beautiful voice.
Oh my
His
gosh.
voice is so beautiful. And he just, it was, the famous scene where he's singing and everybody starts dancing, and then you see like the veil
Then
thin,
mm-hmm.
and you see all these different generations of dancers and just people just celebrating and just enjoying the spirit of the music. It made me think about how important artists are to our society, and how important those who are gifted with the talents of music and dance, how important they are to our collective struggle. Because while we're struggling, we have to be able to get through. And
Mm-hmm.
the way that we get through it is through the art. We express ourselves through the art. We find people who are able to express themselves, and we connect to that expression.
Yeah.
And it helps us through the hard times. It gives us something to laugh about. It gives us something to sing about. It gives us something to dance about. It gives us something to talk about. It gives us freedom while we're still struggling. And so it's so important. That movie just, with Preacher Boy, he knew how he knew how talented he was. Everybody knew how talented he was.
Yeah.
His dad wanted to harness that talent and keep it for his own program.
He wanted to contain it. He
He wanted
wanted
to
yeah.
contain it
Yeah.
and keep it for his own program.
Yeah.
And Preacher Boy said, "Nah, I want to be free. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to share this with more than just the church folk. I want
Mm-hmm.
to be able to share this with everybody." And as much as you have people who are meant to uplift and edify those in the church, you also have people who are meant to edify and help bring light to the world, not just the church. The world, in the sense that we are the light of the world. We should be sharing our light with the world,
Exactly.
not containing it, not holding it up in one specific place, one organization, because that light is what heals us. That light is what helps us. That light is what helps us to get through the struggles. And so, yeah, I just thought, wow, what an amazing way to depict all of that on the screen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So while you were talking, it reminded me of, I was like, what's the word for what we're doing when we're changing energy into something else, like one form of energy into something else? And it was transmutation, the
Mm,
act of changing or the state of being changed into another form. And in physics, it's of changing one element into another by radioactive decay, nuclear bombardment, or something similar in process. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, when I've been studying, um, like how do we get this, how do we take this pain and make something different out of it? I'm just like, I keep learning that I'm doing the right thing by being an artist.
mm,
Like when you're allowing for yourself to play, when you're allowing yourself to create, when you're allowing yourself to do those things without putting a container on it, um, you're allowing for yourself to pull those things out of you and heal.
mm,
And then what ends up also happening is that in the process of you doing that, especially when you're sharing, you're helping heal other people too. And when you're saying like being a light to the world and being able to, like, it doesn't make sense that you would be a light in a container, because a light in the container gets snuffed out.
mm,
It doesn't make sense that you would do that. And so when I think about the idea of programming in church, specifically, I like the word that you used too. You used a better word, or you used a more specific word, not programming, but
indoctrination.
indoctrination. Yeah, when you said that, I was just thinking about the fact that, like, we are taught that we're supposed to be the light of the world in church, but most of our good and our time and our, all that goes to church. Some people are at church 3 4 times a week, and hopefully your church is doing something in the community, for the community that you're part of, and it's a big part of the whatever community that you all live in, because ultimately, like, you're not supposed to just be in that church. Like, especially if you believe in following you, or you follow the teachings of Christ, or you believe in following Christ. Like, Christ's work was not best done in church. And when Christ was in church, a lot of the times he was speaking to the Pharisees and saying, like, y'all need y'all ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of Christ's criticism was towards the Pharisees and
Mm-hmm.
towards religious indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that that's being repeated now today in religion and things like that, like, it's not just Christianity, it's also other religions, other religious containers. Like, it is important that you have a faith, that you have a spirituality, that you have something that you believe in that's greater than just the substance of your human material. But it's also like, you know, you you need to be able to follow God. You need to be able to follow spirit outside of this container, and if you find yourself not being able to do that, then you might be limiting God.
Mm.
You may be limiting what the Spirit has for you. And ultimately, like what you were saying, Bria, when in the sinners, when they're, the veil has thinned, the spiritual veil, like you have us materially here on earth, and then you have spirits of the past and the present and the future in the room all together.
Mm-hmm.
When that is thinned, you see how people are being healed in real time. People are
Mm-hmm.
being able to let go and release in real time. They were living through hell.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that we're not living through hell right now. We just have more comfortable containers to sit in, like our homes. We have more comfortable containers to sit in while hell is, out there, and we feel like we are safe in these containers, just like we might feel we're safe in a church or we're safe in a school. We feel like we're safe in those things, but true safety does not come from those things that are outside of you. The safety comes from knowing that no matter what, you're going to be okay. You
Mm-hmm.
came from spirit and you go back to spirit. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's important that you follow your mission and your purpose in this lifetime and really get to know who God is for yourself.
That's good. That's that's good. For sure. And I think that's a good place to just kind of stay. I think overall, the thing that I have, the conclusion that I've come to when it comes to spirituality and religion is that religion might be something that I choose to do as a practice, but it's going to be a practice for my spiritual self.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as long as I am feeding my spiritual self what it needs, then I'm going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that I need to make sure that I have a spiritual practice in place, whatever that routine is, whatever that care looks like for me, I have to maintain that in order to maintain a good spiritual hygiene.
Yeah.
And it cannot be contained. It can't be. I don't put myself in a box. When it comes to that, I allow myself the freedom of expansion.
Yeah.
And as I expand, I set an example for others along the way, not because that's my aim, but because that's what it means to be the light of the world, is to be the best version of you so that other people can feel free to be the best version of themselves as well.
Exactly. I am in total agreement.
And so I want to talk about some some things I can put you on to. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes. I'm
so
sorry.
in my journey of going through an enlightening period, curiosity and all that stuff, I ventured outside because I was the type of girl who there were periods of time where I wouldn't listen to nothing but gospel music. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to hear nothing else. Don't put nothing else on. And then I ventured out away from that and just started listening to other things. But I came back, and when I came back, there's a few artists that I really enjoy that they they speak about God in a way that is so, I want to say lighthearted, but at the same time it's I want to say the word pure. It's like you can tell that there is a true relationship to God where God is a gentleman, God is kind, God is caring, and not God as a punisher, or
Mm-hmm.
God, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times when we're listening to music, we're like, one thing I noticed with a lot of gospel music, it's a lot of asking for forgiveness for things that they've done. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you should do that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But if you only think of God as punishing you for the things that you've done wrong, then you don't get to experience the fullness of who God is, because God is not a punisher. He's in the blessing business, and life is not about, it shouldn't have to be about you always correcting yourself. it should be more about you being able to experience the fullness of God through his love. And so, and I say his, but I'm really a more his and hers type
Hmm.
when it comes to God.
Me too.
Um, but I just that's just a normal way of speaking about God, so that's why it comes out that way. But she, but so there's two artists that I really enjoy, and a lot of people have heard of them. But Madison Ryan Ward,
Hmm.
I love the
Love
way that
her.
she talks about her relationship with God. It
Yeah.
sounds like somebody who spends a lot of time in God's presence, for one, and
Hmm.
two, it sounds like God is so kind and
Yeah.
so gentle and so
Yeah.
loving. And you need that type of music when you're listening to music,
Hmm.
especially when you're going through a hard time, so that you can know that God is my healer, he's my protector, he's my friend. It's not a he's way up there and then I'm down here. It's more of a hey, we're right here with each
Hmm.
other. And then Sunday is the other one. I say Sunday because it's a SO. But Sunday, I love the way he has a project, and on the project, there's a song called "If Trees Could Talk,"
Hmm.
and I love the the project because it takes you out of the church house and
Hmm.
puts you right where you already are, walking down the street or sitting in nature, or you know what I mean, like just thinking of on the goodness and the expansiveness of who God is in a way that causes you to feel a sense of peace and calm
Yeah.
while you're listening. So I love that. And then the last one I have is from Kenyon Dixon, who is actually a an R&B singer, but he was raised in the church, and he's very adamant about reminding us that I'm a church kid, but I love singing R&B, which is a lot of us. A lot of we
Yeah.
love R&B. R&B is love music, and God is love. So why wouldn't we love
Yeah.
R&B?
And we know, that R&B has its origins in gospel.
Hmm.
You know, some of the best R&B songs are from people who started in the church.
Yep. And
Hmm.
so he has a song. He has a whole project that I forget the name of the project, but his song that I like a lot is called "Not Like That,"
Mm,
and
love
it's
that
he
song.
talks about how God is not concerned with all of the things that we concern ourselves with. A lot of us as Christians sometimes concern ourselves with when it comes to what it means to be a Christian or what it means to love God and to live for God. He said, God ain't gonna care if you come into church and don't take your hat off. That's not what he's about.
Yeah.
And it's it's just that the sentiment of the idea that hey, like I promise God loves you. Like
Hmm.
you don't have to do all of the things. You don't have to like
Perform.
perform. You don't have to
Hmm.
perform for God's love. He gave it to you freely.
Yeah.
And that's the part that like I feel like sometimes people just need to remember that. Like you don't have to earn it. You don't have to earn it. Cuz even if you did everything possible in your power, you it still wouldn't be enough anyway. So it's better that you were able to receive it freely because your righteousness is as filthy rags.
Mm.
So don't try to be so righteous. Just love God and accept and receive the love that He has for us.
And ultimately, like these, it's interesting that you say that because these suits that we have on in this lifetime, I love my body and I love myself, but ultimately they waste away. Our bodies waste away, like an organic cotton towel. You know, after you've used it for so long, it might have provided some good support for your soap and gave you some good exfoliation. But then it eventually gets a hole, and then it eventually starts to wither away. Like that material starts to wither away, and you're only gonna be as that's what came to my mind. You're only gonna be as righteous as your human flesh allows you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're living in this flesh. That doesn't mean that we, with knowing that or understanding that we go and intentionally do things to hurt people because we know that we're in human flesh. No, it's the opposite. With knowing that you have the freedom to make choices, make the ones that are good for you, that are healthy for you, that are helpful for other people, because not only because it's the right thing to do, but because these are the things that build you up, build your spirit up, that connect you to God, that connect you to all of that freedom and that love. And, you know, when you're doing things to harm people, you're putting yourself in prison, not only mentally, but, you know, just physically, all those things. You're putting yourself into a type of prison because you have conviction within yourself. God is within you. God is going to convict you. You like, but at the end of the day, whether somebody else is telling you that you're wrong, that's something that is going to put your mind in a cage. So you know that when you trust God, that and you love God, that love is actually going to be the thing that frees you. And the closer you get to that, the more your behaviors and actions line up with that. And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, like we're not concerned about the idea of, oh, sin, I don't want to sin, I don't want to do it. And it's like, babe, think about, stop focusing on the negative aspect, focus on the positive, focus on what you're giving, what you're doing, how you're feel, what you're filling your spirit up with. Like, focus on that and stop focusing so much on like being at the bottom of the ocean or being lit on fire, because ultimately that's what you're going to get. You keep focusing on that, that's what you're going to get. You need to focus on the good so that you can do the good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're filling your spirit with.
And more so, though, one thing that I've learned is that the more that you stay in the presence of God, the more that God is able to pour into you so
Hmm.
that you can pour into others. And that's the lesson that I have been trying to get back to, of just being in the presence of God more so that I can be poured into, so that I can go out here and do what I have to do in the world, whether it's at my job or, interacting with friends or whatever it is. I don't have enough in my own capacity to be able to fill my own cup. I need that. I need God to pour into me spiritually, because once I'm spiritually fed, then I can do what I need to do to be the light in the world.
Yeah.
And so, because the more that I spend time in God's presence, the more I'm able to interact with God's love, the more I'm able to understand how to be forgiving of people that need to be forgiven, that I come into contact with, the more I'm able to understand how to have compassion for others,
Hmm.
because God is having compassion with me.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn. And the more that you learn from just being in God's presence, the better you show up in the world.
So,
And
what
it,
is being in God's presence for you? I'm sorry.
no, that's a great question.
Hmm.
Being in God's presence is it's getting quiet.
Hmm.
So getting to a space where I'm not having a bunch of noise around me, whether it's the TV or my phone or other people, and just one praying and then listening to what God has to say, reading the word of God, and allowing God to show me what he means, what this word means.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then it's taking God along with me with everything that I do. So when I am driving, or when I am taking a shower, or when I'm cooking, or when I'm whatever I'm doing, I'm acknowledging God's presence with me in those things that I'm doing, and allowing for him to be like a guide for me the entire time that I'm doing those things. And I'm not the best at it, because I have found myself trying to rely on my own strength and my own ability. But what I'm learning is that remain in I have to remain mindful of God's presence, because it's always there. It's just I'm not necessarily thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be more mindful, because when I am more mindful of it, then I'm able to utilize the help when I need help, you know? And so that's
Yeah,
what I've been trying to get back to.
that's amazing. Same for me. Similar for me, but not the exact same. Because I've taken so much religious language out of my vocabulary because I just want to understand it more than I want to I just want to understand what I'm doing. So like just like you, meditation for me is, and I'm saying meditation because it is I understand what meditation is now. Meditation for me is the time and space to sit in quiet for at least, they say 21 minutes a day is good, but I think that I should, every time I think about it and I have the opportunity to do it, to sit in silence. And meditation for me means quiet. I'm quiet. And then affirmation, you know, affirming the things that God says that I am. I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. The good, all those things. And then I may talk to God. I don't always feel like, here's the thing, I don't always feel like like asking God for anything. So prayer for me is usually gratitude. Is usually thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning, for being able to have another day in this body, and being able to go about and be loving one more time, to try to get it right with my family one more time, to try to, you know, grateful gratefulness. And ultimately, when I do have those prayers where I'm asking God for clarity, or I'm asking God, like, now I understand what the ask is, what the ask means, because we ask God for things so much, but we don't realize that, God is not going to just hand us, here's your here's your gratitude. No, we're going to be put through something. And we're going to have, that's going to be our, it's going to be our moment to show gratitude. It's going to be our moment to have that experience and to understand that it's not just you're praying and you're going, well, God is going to give me the $5,000 tomorrow. You know, there's going to be something. There's going to be something that you're going to come up against, and God is going to give you the strength to get through that. But you also have to realize, like you were saying, that God is with you throughout that whole experience. And so when you're feeling all of the pulls and the strains in your human flesh, you're like depending on God for support in that moment. Like, God is with me right now, even when I'm screaming at the top of my lungs and I need help. God is with me, and God is saying, hey, 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 as long as you're breathing, that spirit is within you. You have a healing breath, and you can expel all of that negative energy that is that is consuming you, and you're able to tap back in. It's like a meditative thing. Like I'm able to tap back in to meditation in that moment and be like, yeah, God is with me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm having a human moment and there's no perfection expected from me in this moment. What's expected is that I know that God is with me. And I love that you say that. And I love that understanding differences and the way that we commune with God and commune with each other, like understanding that people have differences doesn't mean that their differences and the way that they understand God are wrong, or
Mm-hmm.
they're demonic, or they come from something bad, or negative, or whatever. It's just a different way of understanding or perspective of seeing God.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Well, this has been a really good conversation.
it has, and I think that it's been very healing for me to have this conversation with you, because we come from the same mother and father, but all of us are different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and ultimately, you were saying something about God earlier, and I was like, yeah, I don't believe that God is just He.
Mm-hmm.
Like I believe that God is unfathomably something bigger than what humans have created, a
Right.
binary system.
Mm-hmm.
God is more than all of that. Because if we are come from God, then are we? Ultimately, I believe God is all, and
Yeah.
and because I believe God is all, I believe that God is, with us in all of those ways. God is with us as a father, as a mother, as a brother, as a sister. And people say that, but then they say, "Well, no, God is He," and it's like, hey. So I appreciate and I love this conversation, and I just want everybody to who's listening in on this to just reflect on some of the things that they heard in today's show. And if you have anything that you want to like add on, tag on, whatever, please don't be shy to email us at yellowcouchlounge@gmail.com. You can hit our social media, IG, and I'll put that on the screen, Yellow Couch Pod. We are also on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts, and then also Spotify, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're on Spotify as well. So you know who else we love? We love you, our loved ones, and we want you to be heard. So at the end of the day, I want for you all to all share the conversation. Send this to someone, and also you can like our video for your algorithm, invite your friends by sharing, and add us to your contacts by subscribing.
Yes. We love you.
Love you. Love you, Bria.
I love you too, D.
All right.